Hello! Thank you so much for dropping by this video. This is a topic I find very fascinating because I experienced it myself. I recovered from one addiction and I just replaced it with another. So the question is why? Why do people do this? And specifically, why does this happen in the 12-step movement? Well, my understanding as to why this happens, again, people get sober in one behavior, and then next thing you know, something else is out of control and making their life unmanageable. So the question is why? Well, in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, in between step 3 and 4, the answer is very clearly presented. Next, we launched out, and this is on page 63. Next, we launched out on a course of vigorous action, the first step of which is personal house cleaning, which many of us had never attempted. Though our decision, meaning turning one's will and one's life over to the care of God, though our decision was a vital, crucial step, it would have little permanent effect unless it once followed by a strenuous effort to face and be rid of the things in ourselves which had been blocking us. Our liquor was but a symptom, so we had to get down to causes and conditions. So the thing is, if alcohol is killing you, or compulsive overeating is just wrecking your life, or slowly killing you, gambling is destroying any addiction. They just show up in different ways. Any addiction will destroy your life and kill you. It's just a question of how. So let's just say, for example, I'm a gambling addict and it is wrecking my life on every level. So I just want to stop gambling, right? Like, it's logical, but that's not actually how the 12 steps work. It took me a long time to figure this out, and a lot of trial and error and relapse, that the addiction is but a symptom. You remove the symptom, the disease is still there. It's like someone who has extra acidity in their stomach. Like, there's different kinds, acid reflux, let's say, and you just take a pill that neutralizes the acidity. You can do that's what Tums is. Let's just say you start taking Tums every day. Well, great, you've reduced the symptom, acidity, but there's an imbalance in your body, that's causing the acidity. I'm not a doctor, but let's say your gallbladder is misfunctioning. Well, great, you've reduced that one symptom, but then that imbalance, that disease, the imbalanced gallbladder, is going to start showing up somewhere else, and it's going to take more and more Tums to reduce the acidity. And so I hope you get my analogy. So let's pretend I'm a gambling addict, and I go to a meeting every day, and I'm like, no matter what, I'm not going to gamble today. And if you notice, I'm like grabbing my chair and like shaking it. It's like, no matter what, I'm not going to gamble today. You haven't. So that's great. That's better than gambling. No question about it. But the thing is, you haven't removed what was causing the gambling, and it's going to show up. It's going to show up in another addiction or a relapse. And so this is why then people then pick up another addiction. Like, okay, so I'm not a gambling addict anymore, but I become an internet addict or pornography or whatever, because I haven't removed what the big book calls the causes and conditions. Mostly why it happens is because people aren't living the 12 steps. The 12 steps, especially 10, 11, and 12, are not just a daily thing, they're a moment by moment. The big book says, One moment. So to work the 11th step, here are the instructions. As we go through our day, we pause when agitated or doubtful and ask for the right thought or action. We constantly remind ourselves we are no longer running the show, humbly saying to ourselves many times each day, Thy will be done. We are thus in much less danger of excitement, fear, anger, worry, self pity, or foolish decisions. We become more and more efficient. We do not tire so easily, for we are not burning up energy foolishly as we did before when we were trying to arrange life to suit ourselves. So, this to recover, to become recovered to where the symptom is, to where the disease is lifted and not have it just show up again in another addiction, we have to become servants of a higher power. I say God, I'm comfortable with either higher power, God. We have to go throughout our day be saying, Thy will be done. How can I best serve? What would you have me do now? Especially when troubled or agitated. And that takes us back a step to the 10th step. All day long, we have to keep an eye out for resentment, fear, dishonesty, and selfishness. And then there's a specific set of instructions. Some people interpret it a little differently, but in essence, we have to be mindful of those things. And the moment they crop up, take spiritual action. And so a lot of people don't take steps 10 and 11 very seriously. And it's a moment by moment thing. That's what keeps us in the sunlight of the Spirit. So without that, sure, you might stop your drug of choice or behavior of choice, and it's gonna show. And of course, that's better than continuing. And if you're a chronic addict, it's gonna show up elsewhere. So the long and short of it is, we have to surrender to a higher power and be guided by it and make it our number one relationship and number one priority and guiding principle of our lives if we're a chronic addict of some type. What is the definition? Well, the big book lays it out. A problem drinker is someone who drinks too much and then they're able to easily stop. I may have my words wrong. I think it's problem drinker, heavy drinker, and chronic alcoholic. If I have the exact words wrong, my apologies. So problem drinker, they drink too much, they realize it's a problem, they stop. Easy peasy. A heavy drinker can stop or moderate if there's sufficient reason, though it's difficult. They still have willpower. A chronic alcoholic has lost their willpower. A chronic addict, they will addict themselves to the grave without the intervention of a higher power. If you fall in the second class, you don't have to work the 10th. If you're just a heavy drinker, you don't have to. You can just get by with doing a little step work, going to a meeting every day, or just. But if you're a chronic addict, it's gotta be the 12 steps, not the 12-step program. Doesn't mean you have to go to a meeting every day, but living the 12 steps has to be like a spouse. It has to be your primary partnership. Over time, it becomes habitual, but especially at the start, it's got to be numero uno. So thank you so much for dropping by. Hope this was helpful. Take care. Much love. And let's remember, though, the thing is, in surrendering to the 12 steps and practicing them, we're rocketed into the fourth dimension. As it says, we found a little bit of heaven here on earth. And that's my experience. When I said, this is number one, my life is dedicated to sobriety and from multiple addictions, sobriety and service. My whole life just turned around. My whole personality just turned around. And I work at it every day. Can't say I do it every moment of every day yet. That's my goal, to be connected to God every moment. And progress, not perfection. Thank you.